I was born in a small town outside Atlanta, Georgia, the kind of place where everyone knows your business and dreams rarely make it past the city limits. My mom raised me mostly on her own. She was a cocktail waitress, charming and exhausted, always smiling even when she was broken. My dad worked construction until he stopped coming home one summer, and from then on, it was just me and her two women trying to survive in a world that didn't offer much. When I was little, I wanted to be an actress. I would stand in front of the mirror, pretending to accept imaginary awards while my mom smoked and watched old movies. She used to tell me, "Lana, you're meant for more than this town." I believed her. I still do. But more didn't mean what I thought it would. When I was 19, my mom and I packed his suitcases, got on a Greyhound bus, and headed to Las Vegas. We had $500 between us and no plan except make it work. We rented a motel for a week, one of those places with buzzing neon lights and carpet that smells like old perfume. My mom looked at me one night and said, "You need a sugar daddy." She wasn't joking. She'd seen a Dr. Phil episode about it, thought it sounded easy, glamorous, safe. That was the first night I went online and found out what the world really wanted from girls like me. The sugar baby sites were never about dates or dinners. They were full of men twice my age, offering money for time. And time always meant more than it said. I told myself I was just meeting for dinner, just talking, just flirting. But I knew, deep down, that I was crossing lines I didn't even know existed yet. Vegas changes you fast. The lights don't sleep, and neither do your doubts. Within months, I was working in my first strip club, one of the only ones that would hire girls under 21. I remember standing backstage, nervous as hell, my hands shaking while I clipped on a pair of borrowed heels. The room smelled like perfume, sweat, and champagne. A woman named Crystal gave me a wink and said, "Just smile, baby. They don't care what you dance like if you smile." I did. I smiled. The first night I made $400. It felt like a miracle. I bought groceries, helped my mom pay rent, and told myself this was temporary, that I was saving for something bigger. But once you start making money like that, you don't stop easily. Vegas isn't kind to dreamers. It chews them up, spits them out, and asks for another dance. Every night became a performance. I learned how to read faces, how to fake confidence, how to flirt without feeling. Men would tell me I was beautiful, that they wanted to save me, that they'd never met anyone like me. I'd smile, lean in, and let them believe it. That's the game, make them feel seen. So they forget they're paying to look. Sometimes after the club closed, I'd walk home in the dry desert air, heels in my hand, and wonder if this was what my mother meant when she said I was meant for more. Maybe she was right. Maybe this was my version of more. More noise, more eyes, more money, more pretending. I didn't realize it then. But that was the start of everything. It was the first step toward a world that would blur every boundary. Love, survival, performance, power. Vegas taught me how to shine, even when I was breaking inside. By the time I turned 21, Las Vegas didn't scare me anymore. I knew every trick the city played. The fake smiles, the midnight promises, the people who'd sell you a dream if you let them. The club had taught me how to survive, but it also made me numb. I could smile through anything. That's a dangerous kind of power. My mom still lived with me back then. She was working at a casino bar, pulling double shifts. We'd pass each other like ghosts, her coming in when I was heading out. One morning over coffee, she said, "Baby, you could be making real money. You don't have to dance forever." She didn't say what she meant, but I knew. That's when I made an account on a sugar site again, this time with my real photo, my real name, and my fake intentions. At first, I told myself it was just dinner, just company. But dinners became hotel suites, and the money started to feel like validation. I learned that in Vegas, people pay for connection, for a version of you that doesn't exist outside the room. That's how I became an escort. The first client I ever had was a businessman from Chicago. He booked me for 4 hours and spent the entire time talking about his divorce. When he handed me the envelope at the end, I felt something strange. Not shame, not pride, just calm. Like I had finally learned how the world really works. Word spread fast in Vegas. The men talk. Soon, I had regulars. They liked that I didn't pretend to be in love. I was honest, or at least honest about the lie. But there's a ceiling to escorting. You make money, yes, but it's unstable, and you're always looking over your shoulder. A friend of mine, another dancer, told me about the Bunny Ranch in Nevada. It's legal, she said. Safe, clean, no cops, no chaos. So I went. The bunny ranch wasn't what I expected. It looked glamorous from the outside. Pink walls, soft lights, champagne glasses, but inside it was just another hustle. We lived in tiny rooms and gave half of everything to the house. 50% gone before you even counted your tips. There were cameras everywhere, rules for everything. You had to sign in, sign out, smile even when you were empty. Some girls loved it. They liked the security, the order. Me? It felt like being trapped in a velvet cage. I stayed for 3 weeks. Met people I'll never forget. One girl who used to hum old country songs between clients, another who'd pray after every booking. Everyone had a story, a reason, a wound. That's where I met Ruby, a redhead with a laugh like broken glass. She told me, "You do great in porn. You've got presence." I laughed at first. But later that night, while I lay in bed listening to the hum of the air conditioner and the muffled voices down the hall, something in me shifted. Presence. Maybe that's what I'd been chasing all along, to be seen, even in the wrong kind of light. When I left the ranch, I called a small agency in Los Angeles. They asked for photos, a test, a meeting. 2 weeks later, I was on a set. The first shoot was strange. Everyone was professional. Lights, makeup, call sheets, but still, I felt exposed in a way that stripping or escorting never made me feel. Cameras don't blink. They see everything, even the parts of you you're trying to hide. That night, I cried in the shower. Not because I regretted it. Not exactly. It was more like I knew there was no going back. Once your image is out there, it never comes home. Still, I kept going. One film turned into 5, then 10. I learned to treat it like work. Lighting, angles, performance. The crew said I had a calm energy on camera, like I wasn't pretending. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe for the first time, I wasn't trying to be anyone but the woman I had become. People ask me now if I'm ashamed. I'm not, but I am changed. There's a difference. Vegas taught me how to survive. The bunny ranch taught me how to fake intimacy. Porn taught me how to perform it. And somewhere in between, I learned how to disappear. When I first moved to Los Angeles, I thought I was starting over. New city, new name, new version of me. I rented a small apartment in the valley. Cheap walls, loud neighbors, and a palm tree that looked dead no matter the season. But to me, it was freedom. My first real shoot in La felt like walking into a movie set. Too many mirrors, too many people pretending not to stare. Everyone looked beautiful, confident, untouchable. But once the camera stopped rolling, they went silent. No one hugged. No one asked how you were. It was all business, all image. Oddity night. I'd drive through Studio City, past the billboards with perfect faces. I'd look up and think, how many of them are as lonely as I am? After a few months, the work picked up. I signed with a bigger agency. My name, Lana Cruz, started showing up on the lists. Shoots turned into conventions, conventions into fans, and fans into followers. I didn't even notice when my follower count passed 100,000, but I noticed the messages, hundreds of them. Some kind, some cruel. People online think they know you. They see a few minutes of your life and build a whole story. You must love sex, they say. You must be broken. The truth is less dramatic. I don't love or hate it. It's just the language I learned to speak to survive. OnlyFans changed everything. It gave me control. At least that's what I told myself. I could decide what to post, who to talk to, how much to charge. But control is a fragile thing. The more I gave, the more they wanted. I learned that people don't pay for content. They pay for access. The illusion that they know you, that you belong to them. Some nights, I'd sit in front of my phone camera, the ring light burning my eyes, pretending to be playful while inside I felt empty. After the live stream ended, I'd scroll through messages. I love you. You saved me. You're the reason I wake up. It scared me, the way strangers could make you feel responsible for their happiness. One night, I got recognized at a grocery store. A man followed me down the aisle, whispering my screen name like a secret. He asked for a photo, then said, "You look so different in person." I smiled, took the picture, and drove home shaking. That night I deleted half my posts, but deleting doesn't erase you. Once you're online, you live there forever. My mom calls sometimes, pretending she doesn't know what I do. She asks if I'm eating well, if I'm safe. I tell her yes, even when I'm not. She's the one who pushed me toward this life, but I don't blame her anymore. We all want our daughters to survive. She just didn't know the price. Sometimes I miss the strip clubs. Not the work, the noise, the music, the laughter, the girls backstage doing each other's makeup. There was a kind of sisterhood there, even if it was built on survival. In porn, there's no backstage, just lights, and people who call you by your stage name even after the cameras stop. I tried dating once. A guy from outside the industry. Quiet, kind, maybe too kind. He said he didn't care what I did for work, but he couldn't handle the reality of it. One night, I caught him watching one of my scenes. Not in a jealous way, more like he was studying me. He said, "I just wanted to see the part of you the world knows." I didn't say anything. We broke up a week later. Now, when people ask if I'm happy, I say yes. Because it's easier than explaining the truth that happiness comes in flashes, like camera lights. Bright for a second, then gone. I started taking photos again. Not for work. Just for me. Empty rooms, city lights, self-portraits without makeup. Maybe that's my way of remembering who I am underneath all this. LA taught me that fame is just another mask. You wear it until it fits, and when it finally does, you forget what your real face looks like. It was early morning. Los Angeles was still asleep, yet the city somehow remained loud even in its dreams. Lana pulled back the curtains of her small apartment. The skyline was half awake, drenched in leftover neon, for the first time in years. She realized there was nowhere she needed to be. No camera waiting, no reservation, no performance, just the sound of her own breathing. She leaned against the cold glass, watching the city stretch under a pale light. Once, this view had made her feel alive. Now it only reminded her of how many versions of herself she had played. The streets below were still crowded with ghosts of who she used to be. The girl on the poster, the woman on the screen, the fantasy someone once paid to touch. She made herself a cup of coffee. The soft hum of the machine filled the silence, and she found herself mesmerized by the sound. Ordinary, grounding, human. For years, she had run from ordinary. Everything had to be bright, loud, cinematic. Now she wanted nothing more than a quiet morning, a mug warming her hands, and a moment where nobody expected her to sparkle. Steam rose from the coffee, twisting and fading into air. She watched it disappear and thought, maybe I'm just like that, visible for a moment, then gone. She opened a suitcase on the bed. This time it wasn't for travel, not for work, not for escape. It was a soft rebellion, a small bag for starting over, running toward. Not away. It struck her how long it had taken to understand the difference. She had spent years escaping others, producers, clients, lovers, only to find that the one person she could never escape was herself. She picked up her notebook, the same one she used to write scripts for scenes that weren't hers. Now, the pages were blank, and for once, that didn't scare her. She began to write. Today, no one is watching me. Maybe that's the first time I've ever really existed. Her handwriting trembled, the ink soaking into the paper like truth that had waited too long to be spoken. She wasn't performing anymore. She was confessing. By afternoon, she stepped outside. The sun felt foreign on her skin. People passed by, busy with their quiet, invisible lives. Nobody recognized her, and to her surprise, that anonymity felt sacred. Being unseen wasn't loneliness. It was freedom. She found a corner cafe, ordered another coffee, and sat by the window. Through the glass, she watched the world unfold in small, unremarkable gestures. A father tying his daughter's shoe, a woman laughing into her phone, a dog chasing pigeons. Real life, unstaged, unfiltered, and for the first time, she wondered if maybe normal was the greatest luxury of all. Her phone buzzed. The name of her former producer appeared on the screen. The same man who once told her she'd never make it if she didn't smile more. She looked at the phone, hesitated, then turned it face down. No reply. Not anymore. The sunlight poured through the window, tracing her face in gold. She closed her eyes. The warmth stung, not painfully, but like something new being born. I'm tired, she whispered to herself. But finally, it's my own kind of tired. That night, back home, she turned off all the lights. The apartment sank into quiet darkness. She stood before the mirror one last time. This time, she recognized the woman staring back, and for the first time, she didn't want to fix her. Lana smiled softly and whispered, almost like a prayer, one day, someone will love not who I've played, but who I really am. And with that, under no spotlight, She finally fell asleep, not as a character, not as a brand, but as herself. The sun rose quietly over the city, painting the rooftops in pale gold. Lana sat by the window, knees pulled to her chest, the same coffee mug warming her hands, but something inside her had shifted, for the first time. The morning didn't feel heavy. There were no unread messages from producers, no flashing notifications demanding attention, just silence, wide and forgiving. She used to fear this emptiness, mistaking stillness for failure. Now she understood. Silence was where the truth lived. She stepped outside barefoot, feeling the cool tiles under her feet. Her body was her own again, not a product, not a frame, not a fantasy. She had spent years selling moments of affection, fragments of touch, but never the full story of her heart. The air was soft that morning. She could hear the city waking up, distant horns, a child laughing, a dog barking somewhere far below. Life was ordinary, yet it felt sacred. She realized she didn't need to be adored by millions. She just wanted to belong somewhere real. At the kitchen table lay her camera. It had been months since she'd touched it, not for work, but maybe this time for herself. She turned it on and looked into the lens. No makeup, no performance. "Good morning," she said quietly to the reflection on the screen. Her voice cracked a little, but it was honest. For once, she wasn't pretending to be anyone. She began recording small things, the way sunlight moved across her walls, the coffee swirling in her cup, the faint smile that kept finding her lips. It wasn't content. It was evidence, proof that she was still here. As the days passed, she started writing again, not scripts or captions, but memories. She wrote about the girl who left Georgia with $500 and a dream, the woman who walked through neon nights and never stopped searching for herself, the faces, the rooms, the lights that faded. Every story she wrote ended the same way. And then, she came home. One afternoon, she received an email from a journalist who wanted to interview her, a tell-all about life in the adult industry. Lana smiled. She didn't feel angry or afraid, just distant, like the story was about someone else. She typed 2 words in reply, no comment. It felt like reclaiming a piece of her soul. Weeks later, she visited the ocean. The waves crashed like applause, then pulled back into silence. She stepped closer to the shore and let the cold water reach her ankles. For years, she had performed for eyes that never really saw her. Now, the only audience was the sea, and it was enough. She closed her eyes and whispered, "I forgive you," not to anyone else, to herself, for every compromise, every time she stayed too long, every smile she faked to survive. When she opened her eyes, the horizon was endless. A bird crossed it, a single, fleeting shadow against the light. She thought about following it. Maybe she already had. That night, she packed her camera, her notebook, and one small suitcase. No designer heels, no stage clothes, just simple things. A white shirt, a pair of jeans, her favorite book. As she turned off the lights, she looked back one last time at the apartment, the place where she had finally stopped pretending. The room didn't echo anymore. It breathed. Lana smiled to herself and whispered, "Fame took everything that wasn't real. What's left is mine." And when the door closed behind her, it wasn't an ending. It was a beginning, quiet, honest, and entirely her own.